So the numbers that are responsible for turning us back when we reach the full capacity is this one. So this number 3 here is responsible for all that. So we have to make this number dynamic. So let's do that by slider images container. So we have this container right there, right? But we need this here because we are using a value that was created here. So let's just move this guy way up there. Okay, so the slider images container there. Now let's get the images themselves. So I'm going to say var images is equal to the container query selector, or let's get all images in there, img. So once I do that, now I can create a variable called total images var total images is equal to images.length. But because the length is actually 4, it's just that here we are using 3 because the array starts at 0, but the length is 4, so we don't need 4, we need 3 here. So I will do a -1, and then because we need a negative number here, remember, what I will do is put this in brackets. We can actually convert this to start accepting positive numbers, but this is okay as well. I'll just multiply it by -1 to turn it negative. So total images, and then I'll put that value wherever it exists, like so. So refresh, and let's add extra images. Number 4 will be repeated twice on both sides. Refresh. So let's go there, 2, 3. Let's see if it will go one more step. There we go, and then goes back. So even here it will go to the last one, come back to this one. Okay, so things are working fine now. This is now dynamic, so we can even have less of these actually. Delete that one, delete that one. Now we have 3, and there we go. It's still working just fine. Okay, so let's put back the 4. Now the second problem we have is that we have 2 repeated sets of data. So if we leave this to the user, sometimes they may forget. They'll put 4 here and they'll put 2 here and so on. So this is a very unreliable system. So let's delete one of these. Instead, what we will do is we'll copy the contents of this one into this one. So let me come down here. We will do that somewhere right here before we begin. So slider images container, and what I need also is the thumb, slider thumbs container. So we're adding the event listeners here, but I can move these guys to the top where they can be used for work there, like that. So slider images container, and then there's the, so this is the thumbs container. So what I would tell it here before we query everything, actually I don't need these here, this one here, I can move this back down where we're adding the event listeners. I just need this here. So here I will say that container dot inner HTML, the inside of it should be equal to slider images container dot inner HTML. So they should be exactly the same, those two. The HTML contained inside should be the same. So let me refresh the button, and as you can see, we are good. The images are back here. This way, if for example I add more here in one place, I get a replication here as well. So as you can see, there we go, it's working just fine. Okay, so good. Now one last thing about our slider is we need to make it resizable, because currently it isn't very, oh sorry, I've undone too much. Undo. Okay, there we go. It isn't very resizable. So if for example you want to be showing many images on this slider, you can easily do that by going to the slider wrapper itself and changing the width. Let's change it to something like 800 or something, so it's wider now, and let's try 9, something much bigger. Yep, so you can have 2 of these now instead, something like this. The only thing is you have to change the width here to match as well. That way it moves at the same pace, like that, like that, like that, like that. Okay, so you can do that if you want to. Let me take it back. But what I want instead is when I adjust the width, when I adjust the width of the image, it doesn't do that. It just, sorry, when I adjust the width of the wrapper, it adjusts the width of the image instead. That's what I want. So let's make that happen. So let's make a function called scale images. So let's come down here and make a function. A function can be anywhere because it can be called anytime. So function scale images. So scale images should happen at the very top here. Actually, scale images should happen after this. So in order to understand why, let's do it before that so that you see the problem with that. So in order to scale our images, what we need first of all is to know the width of the slider images container. So I will pass that in there. What else do we need to know? That's the container, and I think for now we can make do with that. So scale images. Okay, so the width should change also here. So let me come down here and say scale images. Okay, down here, down here. Let me paste that very item here.